Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Elections officials testified before the Senate Committee on Housing and Government Services Wednesday. The Senate committee wanted to get an update from the Board of Elections about their challenges and the status of operations without any effective leadership. News 2's Erica Parsons has that story.
Senate Committee Chair Diane Capehart had a laundry list of concerns she wanted elections officials to address, but senators were most concerned with the position of the supervisor of elections and the status of the voting machines. For her first committee hearing, freshman Senator Diane Capehart called on elections.
I thought it was important that Board of Elections come before us today to talk about all the challenges that they've been facing. We've had two recent resignations for Deputy Supervisor St. Croix, St. Thomas. And we have our supervisor for Board of Elections, Virgin Islands, who's presently out on sick leave.
The invitation was sent to Supervisor of Elections John Abramson Jr., the District Deputy Supervisors, Joint Board Chair Alicia Wells, and St. Croix District Board Chair Delbert Bryan, none of whom showed. St. Croix board members Rupert Ross Jr., Raymond Williams, and Lisa Harris Moorhead, who also serves as the Joint Board's Vice Chair, voluntarily testified. Senators expressed concern about Abramson still heading operations while being out on sick leave, and the board said as the supervisor he still handles administrative things like signing payroll.
I hope to accomplish to understand probably even their financial constraints. I plan to find out the timeline as far as with, filling positions.
Senators asked about the status of new voting machines and the local funds that were earmarked to buy them. Elections officials said that money was never released by the Office of Management and Budget. They told senators a contract was already signed for 43 new machines back in 2010. Federal funds were held back because of ADA non-compliance. Now being compliant, they said they'll be able to buy EAC certified machines. Erica Parsons, News 2.
Now, officials from the election system and board are scheduled to continue their discussion before the same Senate committee on June 5th. On Tuesday, News 2 shared a few tax tips from the Bureau of Internal Revenue. But what's the status of those tax refunds? When asked, BIR Director Claudette Watson-Anderson had this to say.
Well, right now, we have an estimated about $5.7 million of 2012 refunds. There was one last task left to do, and we verify the Social Security numbers with the Social Security Administration to make sure they're valid tax ID numbers before we pay a refund. So I think that was the last thing left to do, and then it'll be when the funding is available.
Do we have any idea on a date for that?
Of course, the Bureau is a processing center, and that decision is not made at the Bureau level.
The VI Public Services Commission denied the Water and Power Authority's request during their regular meeting Tuesday to raise the Levelized Energy Adjustment Clause, or LEAC. According to the VI source, the PSC's consultants have been complaining for some time about the lack of information provided by WAPA when it comes to their LEAC filings. PSC commissioners voted to postpone making any change to the LEAC until their next meeting since the filing was incomplete. The vote means no increase for electric, but it also means the proposed decrease for the water LEAC was not voted on. As News 2 reported Tuesday, a Carnival Dream cruise ship passenger fell to her death on St. Thomas yesterday. According to witnesses, although not much information was released, West Indian Company Limited officials did confirm to News 2 today that the incident did happen on Waiko property, but the cruise line handled the issue. They also confirmed the body of the woman did go back on the cruise ship. The identity and age of the deceased woman has not been confirmed as of news time. Police were dispatched to a residence on Prince and Scotta about 5:30 p.m. on March 25th for an act of domestic violence. The 41-year-old female victim told police that when she arrived home, her children's father was in the house. She told police that she severed the relationship with him recently. She said when she began speaking to him, he pulled out a knife from his pocket and started to swing the knife towards her. Julian stabbed her at least 2 times in the back and left shoulder. The victim's teenage son intervened, and the victim was able to run to a neighbor who called the police. When police arrived, Julian barricaded himself in the home and threatened to harm himself. Police were able to enter the residence using a key from the landlord. They removed the suspect from the home. Julian had self-inflicted cuts on his wrists, neck. Julian and the victim were both taken to the Schneider Regional Hospital by ambulance. Again, police arrested Julian, age 51, at 2:45 a.m. on March 26. He was charged with third-degree assault, domestic violence, and held without bail. Criminal Investigation Bureau detectives on St. Croix have rearrested Delroy Tung after he was bound over to face charges as an adult in connection to a robbery and assault that occurred on August 18, 2012, where patrons at a restaurant were robbed and 2 VIPD officers who were searching for the suspects were fired upon and injured. Police said Taunt was one of 3 suspects who were arrested and charged with the crime. Taunt was 16 at the time of his arrest and has been incarcerated at the Youth Rehabilitation Center since the incident. On August 18, 2012, about 8:40 p.m., 3 armed men robbed patrons at the Eat and Cane Bay restaurant. The suspects fled the area in a vehicle. St. Croix Chief of Police Christopher Howell and Police Officer Ellsworth Jones were injured after being fired upon by the fleeing suspects. Well, Acting Police Commissioner Rodney Querrard says there has been an increase in property-related shootings on St. Thomas, and he's sending out a message in an attempt to discourage residents from taking matters into their own hands.
Many are occurring after disturbances originating at functions at various late-night businesses and or clubs. Vehicles and homes are being riddled with bullets as a result, with no regard for the occupants in the vehicles or the residences. Please speak to individuals residing in your homes who frequent these late-night functions. Advise them to cooperate with law enforcement. People have to realize that there are consequences for taking matters into their own hands. When this occurs, retaliation becomes the word of the day. Anyone with information can call my office at 340-715-5506 or Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-TIPS.
Have you ever considered a career in law enforcement? If you have, a lot of questions probably come to mind, but an informational law enforcement career day is coming up and could answer all those questions.
And it gives an opportunity for individuals who may be interested in going into law enforcement to actually come down and speak to different agencies, local and federal. So it gives them opportunity to get some one-on-one time. There may be a lot of questions that they probably wanted to ask, and usually when they see us, we're working. So this is an opportunity for them to come down and ask as many questions as they like.
Well, St. Croix celebrated Transfer Day 1 week early to avoid conflicting with Easter. 96 years ago, on March 31st, 1917, the Virgin Islands were sold to the United States by Denmark. On Saturday, residents and Danish visitors celebrated the ties that bind the two during the official Transfer Day ceremony held at the historic Wim Plantation. There was steel pan music, folk and quadrille dancers, as well as other activities. Governor John de Jong and Denmark's Consul General were 2 of the many speakers who talked about Denmark and the VI's rich history. Meanwhile, earlier this week, Governor John de Jong talked about his recent trip to Denmark and a commission he has established to prepare for the centennial of Transfer Day.
I want to put in place a Centennial Commission that I appoint the members to. I want to look at having an executive director that can actually be someone that focuses on 2017 and what we're doing to make sure that we get as much out of it in terms of the cultural, but also an economic development impact. I think this is a chance for us to take everything we have from the tremendous investment that we're making in downtown Charlotte Amalie, what we're doing in Christiansted, Frederiksted, what we've done in Cruz Bay, and begin to bring it all together in the next couple of years leading up to 2017 and make it one where we reach out not just to the royal family in Denmark or to the ministers and the government, but also to our own State Department and to the White House. What can we do to sort of high profile that activity and what it's meant to go from 1917 to 2017?
And turning our attention stateside, the United States Supreme Court takes up another same-sex marriage issue today. This case concerns same-sex couples who are already legally married and whether the federal government can deny them benefits. CBS's Randall Pinkston reports from the Supreme Court.
Thank you.
A few dozen people collected tickets to enter the Supreme Court for a second day of arguments on same-sex marriage.
It's the golden ticket right here.
Today, the justices are considering a challenge to the 1996 Defense of Marriage Act, or DOMA. It bars federal recognition and benefits for legally married same-sex couples. Plaintiff Edith Windsor sued after she got a $363,000 estate tax bill when her partner of 44 years died. If Windsor had been married to a man, her estate tax bill would have been zero.
I know that the spirit of my late spouse, the Aspire, is right here watching and listening and would be very proud and happy of where we've come to.
But those who support the law say the court can't change the definition of marriage.
In the beginning, God made them male and female. Have you not read that? This is not complicated.
The Obama administration declined to defend DOMA in court, so House Republicans hired an attorney to defend the law. During arguments, 5 justices indicated they may view the Defense of Marriage Act as unconstitutional, but for different reasons.
You are at real risk of running in conflict with what has always been thought to be the essence of the state police power, which is to regulate marriage, divorce, custody.
Some of the liberal justices said the law appears to create 2 classes of marriage. Randall Pinkston, News 2.
Meanwhile, keeping our eye on the economy, President Obama has signed a spending bill to keep the government funded through September. Congress passed it last week. The measure keeps government agencies operating, but leaves in place automatic budget cuts. The bill does include an additional $87 billion for overseas military operations. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow down 33, NASDAQ up 4. Coming up on News 2, an Olympic gold medalist provides hands-on training and instruction for some lucky young St. Croix athletes. This week, the youth got an awesome opportunity. Plus, don't forget about that liquor law. Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs advises all bars, restaurants, and establishments that serve alcohol. DPNR reminds campers that permits are required to camp on the Columbus landing site at Salt River Bay Park during the Easter holidays. Permits will be issued for camping from Wednesday, March 27th through Tuesday, April 2nd. Now, here are some of the basics. No digging of any kind will be tolerated. Fire pits and trash pits are prohibited. Smoothing of the ground surface is allowed only by hand, brush, rake, or leaf rake. No picks, shovels, or heavy equipment are allowed on the site. Campfires will be allowed only if placed within a metal container or on bare sand. You can call DPNR for more information. Now, on Good Friday, although a number of Virgin Islanders may be heading to church for special services, one place they may not be heading to are bars or restaurants, and that's because the Good Friday liquor ban will be in effect. Wayne Biggs, Jr., Commissioner of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, advises all bars, restaurants, and establishments that serve alcohol to comply with Title Section 171 of the VI Code that states distilled liquor and drinks prepared shall not be served in public places of refreshment between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Good Friday. Although the topic of challenges young black males face in the territory, it's not new. It was the center of discussion at a women's forum held at UVI on Tuesday. Panelists used that opportunity to address issues and possible solutions, and discussion ranged from women's self-esteem to parenting and family values. News 2's Erica Bivens has the story.
Once you have your education, people can't take that from you.
4 panelists led a discussion Tuesday evening at the University of the Virgin Islands for their 3rd Women's History Month forum.
We have someone who is involved, who is a pastor. We have a psychologist. We have a judge, a Superior Court judge, and we also have an educator. And we thought that these 4 professional fields could really blend and bring their expertise and their knowledge about the issue.
Discussion focused on women's perspective on black males in crisis, the theme of this year's forum.
If we are going to be a training ground, we have to bring these issues. Women have to talk about these issues, and women at the university and in this community are very knowledgeable, and I think that who best to provide information, let their voices be heard, and to provide strategies and suggestions for addressing some of these issues.
The community also attended, asking various questions and giving general remarks of their own, including men.
I want to know, why is there such a stigma against certain hairstyles, growing your hair a certain length?
First of all, when I came here, I felt a little objectified. Women's perspective of black men. I understand it's female.
Although the topic focused on helping males in the community, discussion also included strategies for women.
As a woman, you dust yourself off and you rise above it. And while you're rising yourself above it, you reach back and you bring another woman and you empower her with the knowledge that you gain. That makes the circle complete.
For News 2, I'm Erica Bivens.
Now, Tuesday's event was sponsored by the Office of Student Affairs at the university's St. Thomas campus. Well, Etana fans, are you ready for the show? This Saturday at the Reichel Center, Etana debuted on the reggae scene in 2008 with her breakout hit Roots and quickly built a catalog of conscious music and a massive fan base. Her debut CD, The Strong One, was highly successful with hits like I Am Not Afraid, Blessings, and Don't Forget. She hits every reggae festival, and you have the opportunity to meet her.
I'm Etana the Strong One. Come out and meet me at the Music Shop in Havenside Shopping Mall on Friday, March 29th at 4 p.m. before performing live at the Reichel Center on March 30th. See you there.
And it's time to kick off our Carnival Corner. The 2013 Calypso Monarch Elimination Tent was held on Friday, March 22nd at the VI Taxi Association building in Content. 16 hopefuls competed for a shot at capturing the crown from reigning Calypso Monarch King Kung Fu Plenty. And the top 10 qualifiers are Mighty Pat, Super T, Toby D, Spade, Ashanti, Singin' Jackie, Generic, Soulja, Sarro, and King Paul. Now the finals will be held on April 18th at the Lionel Roberts Stadium beginning at 8 p.m. Now with the theme, A Tropical Scene for Carnival 2013, the 61st anniversary celebration, 3 young ladies will be vying for the title of Carnival Princess, and they are Asnique Phillip, Shania Adia Lewis, and Daquana Shania Lewis. Now this show starts at 5 p.m. at the Lionel Roberts Stadium. Be sure to go out and support the young ladies. Now, just a reminder, there will be a change in daytime programming this week due to the 2013 NCAA Basketball Championships that will be aired here on CBS TV2 starting at 7 p.m. Therefore, on Thursday and Friday, News 2 will not be aired at its regularly scheduled times. We will be back on air on Monday with our regular scheduled programming. Join us for all the latest in news, weather, and sports. Again, no newscasts on Thursday, March 28th and Friday, March 29th. Stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.